Today's video is sponsored by Noom. I've noticed recently that TikTok's taken on making seitan. Now, seitan is essentially wheat meat. Wheat gluten, it's a gluten meat. It's a plant-based meat made primarily from wheat gluten. It's pretty much all wheat protein. It's probably one of the closest things that resembles meat, and it's one of the easiest plant-based meats to make. Now, wheat gluten has been used to make mock meats for years. I'm talking like thousands of years. It was first documented being used by Buddhists around the 6th century in China, but it's been seen in Chinese, Japanese, and Vietnamese cultures. Now, in this video, I want to show you 3 different very basic methods. We're going to do a very simple version of the washed flour method. We're going to do a version using vital wheat gluten, which is essentially just the gluten that's already pulled out of the flour. And I'm going to do a combination version where I actually use vital wheat gluten and add something back into it to give it a little bit better texture. Now, if you're coming from TikTok from one of those quick 15-second videos, there's probably a lot more to learn about seitan. If that TikTok video blew your mind, wait until you join the Seitan Appreciation Society. There is people that have been making seitan for years, decades even, and they have perfected the methods to making seitan meat, and some of that stuff is unbelievable. I made a seitan bacon from the Seitan Appreciation Society that would blow your mind. I'll leave all of the videos and everything linked here. There's a few people like Avocado and Ales who created a seitan recipe called chickpea. Chickpea pretty much exploded and became one of the go-to variations of seitan. Now, for this first method, we're just going to be using all-purpose flour. This is going to be the washed flour method. This is probably one more like the original and takes a little bit of practice to get it just right. You could definitely get like a chicken-like meat doing it. Even if you mess up, you'll still have something that's worth using. But the washed flour method is pretty simple. All we're going to do is just make a dough ball. I'm going to do about 5 cups of flour to 2 cups of water. We're going to knead that dough ball together. This is also your opportunity to take out a little bit of aggression on your dough. Just have some fun with it. I'm just kidding. You don't really have to do this. And then let it rest in a bowl under cold water. We want to let it rest for about an hour. Once it's rested, start kneading the dough ball under the water. You're essentially washing away the starches and leaving only the gluten. Now, real quick, you can save that starchy water. That starchy water can be used to make so many different things. I've made a bacon out of it. I've made a pepperoni out of it. The pepperoni is it's so good. Now, once your flour feels fully washed, you're gonna see your water go from very, very milky to kind of getting slightly clearer. You probably don't wanna wash it all the way clear because you want some starches remaining. Those starches remaining give you a lot of texture. We're then gonna allow the dough ball to rest for just a few minutes while we're pressing it down into a patty and then steam. You're just gonna need to steam this for about 40 minutes and then it's done. You have a legit chicken replacement. Now at this point, you can cook this even farther. You can cook it in a sauce or seasoning. You can pan fry it, which is what I like to do, with just a little salt and pepper, and then throw this on your salads, soups, sandwiches, whatever you wanna do. It's amazing. And then you have your washed flour chicken. Look at this. It comes out perfect. Now, the washed flour chicken, like I said, this is the chicken that is more like your traditional seitan. And this is like what you saw in that TikTok video that went viral. Now, the seitan chicken, this one here, the washed flour one. Yeah, it's really good.
Delicious.
It has a good taste. The texture is soft. Now, with all seitans, you have to let them rest. The more you let them rest, the denser they get. So if you let this one rest overnight in the fridge, heated it up tomorrow, it's gonna be even better. But the washed flour seitan is really a good one. Hey gang, let me tell you a little bit about today's sponsor. Noom uses psychology and science to help people live a healthy life. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've lost a little bit of weight recently, and that's because in 2021, I've decided that I need to take my health a little bit more serious. From somebody that's done a ton of different diet and exercise programs, I'll tell you, they don't really lead to lasting change. Noom works by giving you daily articles, lessons, psych tricks, a bunch of cool tips and tricks to teach you along the way so you can learn about your habits, about what you're putting in your body, what you're eating, what you're doing, and how you're working. I've really enjoyed logging in every day and learning something new. Monica's been getting an earful with all of the things that I've learned. Noom has a really cool food catalog system where you can track the food that you eat, and it breaks it down into different categories from green, yellow, and red. That's something that I really enjoy because it keeps you making the decisions versus some diet plan where you have to follow strict guidelines. I really also enjoyed the classes. I just did one for de-stressing by breathing. It gave a few techniques on how to breathe to control your anxiety, and I thought that was awesome. So gang, make sure you click the link in the description below so that way you can take your free Noom evaluation. It's quick, easy, and it will help you create your custom plan. I cannot wait to hear what you all think about this one. Thanks again, Noom, for sponsoring today's video and helping me on my journey to be a healthier me. Now for our next method, we're gonna be using vital wheat gluten. This is probably the most common and most known way to make seitan. Now, this version is just using just the gluten that's already been separated from the wheat. This is about 80% protein. It is mostly gluten. There might be some starches left, but very little remain. This is gonna give you a denser seitan, and it's gonna happen a heck of a lot quicker. To make this, you can usually follow the instructions on the back of the label, which most vital wheat glutens have on them. Or you can just do 1.5 cups of vital wheat gluten to 1 cup water. Knead the dough together. Now, once your dough is made, there is a ton of different methods to prepare your seitan. In the first method, we steamed it. In this method, we're gonna simmer it. When simmering, you can usually impart more flavor and give it a little bit more juiciness. So all we're gonna do is just make a broth. I'm gonna be using a vegan chicken broth. This stuff right here, this is chicken flavored broth mix. There is no chicken in it. It is 100% plant-based. I'm just gonna do a few teaspoons into this, into about 5 quarts of water, bring that up to a simmer. We don't want a rolling boil, we just want it to be at a nice simmer. We're gonna flatten out our seitan, cut it into a few chunks. We probably want smaller nuggets here, and throw that into the water to simmer along for about 40 minutes. Now at this point you have a cooked seitan. You can eat it just how it is, but you can also allow it to cool down, bread it, fry it, you can simmer it or saute it, you can fry it, you could literally just do loads of different things with it. Again, we're just gonna keep all of these fairly basic, and we are just going to pan fry it with a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and you have ourselves a nice grilled chicken piece. This one's gonna be denser and more like chicken than like our washed flour nugget. It still tears, and that's how I actually made them, is by tearing them. It still tears and has like a nice chick-un consistency.
This one's really good.
You really like? Monica likes the vital wheat gluten. All of these different seitans have different uses. I mean, really, the vital wheat gluten is probably the best one for chicken, and the easiest because you just mix and cook. That is pretty good. Now for our third and last, this is our new one. The first two are methods that are already known, but this method is something that I've just been working on myself. It's incredibly simple, and it just adds a nice variable to your seitan to make it a little bit more marbled, give it a little bit more texture, and make it a little bit more juicy and succulent. This method that I'm gonna be doing with vital wheat gluten makes it more similar to the washed flour method, but it's simple with just measurements. You don't have to wash the flour until it feels right. This is just gonna be a measured out thing that just kind of works every time. Now with this method, all we're gonna be doing is creating another dough ball using vital wheat gluten. We're gonna be doing 1.25 cup of vital wheat gluten with 1 cup water. We're gonna knead that together for a few moments until it becomes a solid ball. Then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of starch. Now at this point you can use really any starch. Corn starch will be fine. If you have wheat starch, that might work even better. Knead the starch into the dough ball and let it rest for about an hour. You should see kind of like clumpy bits of starch that got mixed into it. That's fine. If they are clumpy, they will hydrate up as this goes. That's okay. Now for this method, we're gonna do a fry, then simmer. We're essentially just gonna add a little bit of oil to a pan. We're gonna fry on both sides, make sure you're flipping over, be careful. After it's fried and flipped back over to the original side, we're just gonna add a broth. In this scenario, I'm gonna add the vegan chicken broth. We're gonna add the vegan chicken broth, cover that up, let that simmer for about 30 to 40 minutes. Once it's fully simmered, you should have an incredibly juicy seitan that comes out unbelievable. And then look at this. Look at it. This is the perfect chicken strip. This is the combo vital wheat gluten and starch mixture. This would be more like your washed flour version, except just quicker and easier because you just mix there's no like, it's just easy. You just mix starch with a vital wheat gluten dough. It's still shreddable and terrible like a chicken would be, but it stays really nice and like, it actually kind of has the consistency of like meat. You feel it on your fingers. Yep.
This one's my favorite.
Yeah, like by far.
Even the flavor of it.
Yeah.
The bite, the texture, everything.
Yeah, it's very, very much chicken-like. Now the cool thing with this method is you could flavor it. Now, none of these have to be flavored like chicken. That's just the method that I did. With the washed flour version of seitan and this version of seitan, you can really make them taste a lot like beef. I have a few recipes coming up where we're gonna be doing this into a steak. And again, thanks to Noom for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you click the link in the description below so you can take your free Noom evaluation. Thanks, Noom.